Imagine, like a biological war zone, just this microscopic environment where cells are literally suffocating.
Right,
They're
yeah.
stripped of their energy to the point where human reproduction just, completely grinds to a halt.
It's a brutal image, but honestly, it's scientifically accurate.
Right. And when you picture fixing a problem like that, you probably envision the most advanced synthetic laboratory interventions imaginable. You think of pristine white rooms, petri dishes, uh, highly calibrated hormones.
Yeah, that's the standard assumption for sure.
But what if the answer to that microscopic energy crisis involves, like, needles, botanical compounds, and medical principles that are literally 1,000 years old?
It sounds totally counterintuitive, I know, but that is exactly the paradigm shift we are seeing right now. We're
Right.
finally moving away from this idea that the human body is just this strict mechanical system that only responds to protocol-driven Western medicine.
Because what happens when that purely mechanical approach hits a wall? I mean, you get the lab results back, the IVF cycles fail, and no one can tell you exactly why.
Exactly, it's devastating.
Right, that pristine laboratory suddenly feels less like a place of healing and a lot more like a maze with no exit.
It becomes incredibly isolating. And, for millions of couples, that is the exact medical reality they are facing behind closed doors.
Yeah.
They're doing everything, quote unquote, right by the standard medical playbook, and they are still coming up empty-handed.
Which is exactly why we are plunging into today's deep dive.
Yep.
We're looking at a stack of incredible sources detailing how one pioneering clinic, the Berkeley Center for Reproductive Wellness, is completely rewriting the story of fertility.
And they're doing it by taking the most cutting-edge cellular science and merging it directly with ancient medicine.
It's wild. So whether you are personally navigating fertility issues right now, maybe you're prepping for a medical discussion with your own doctor, or you are just insanely curious about the hidden biology of the human body, we are going to serve up some major aha moments for you today.
Oh, absolutely. There's so much to uncover here.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand how this clinic is achieving its results, we first have to understand what is actually going wrong inside the body at a microscopic level when infertility strikes.
Right, and to do that, we have to talk about what the medical community often refers to as the silent struggle of infertility.
Mesonomic struggle.
Yeah, this encompasses poor egg and sperm quality, recurrent miscarriages, and those heartbreaking failed IVF cycles.
Which takes such a massive emotional toll.
Oh, massive. But the biological root of this suffering often traces back to that microscopic war zone you just mentioned.
Okay, so what's actually happening in that war zone?
Well, it is essentially a severe energy crisis at the cellular level, and it really comes down to a battle between two main players.
Okay, who are the players?
You have reactive oxygen species, or ROS, and ATP.
Okay, I know ATP is basically like the energy currency of our cells, right?
Yes, exactly.
What exactly makes a reactive oxygen species the villain here? What are they actually doing?
Well, ROS are these highly unstable molecules. Mechanically speaking, they're missing an electron.
Okay.
Because they're unstable, they're desperate to find that missing piece. So they essentially rip electrons away from other healthy cells.
Oh, wow. So they just steal what they need.
Exactly. And when you have an overabundance of ROS, like when they accumulate faster than your body can naturally neutralize them, a condition called oxidative stress sets in.
And oxidative stress is bad news.
It is devastating to reproductive cells.
Yeah.
The ROS literally tear into the lipid membranes of the cells. They damage the DNA inside the eggs and sperm, and critically, they severely impair the mitochondria.
Wait, so the mitochondria are literally the power plants here, right?
Yep.
They're the ones manufacturing the ATP.
Precisely. The mitochondria synthesize ATP, adenosine triphosphate. When the chemical bonds in ATP break, that is what releases the physical energy required for healthy cell function. Without sufficient ATP, the whole reproductive system just breaks down.
Okay, let me put this in a way that makes sense to me. Because, throwing around acronyms can get a bit abstract.
Sure, go for it.
It is essentially like a smartphone battery. If your phone is at 1%, you can't load a heavy app. The screen dims, everything lags.
That's a great way to think about it.
In the body, if a sperm or an egg has no ATP, it can't swim, it can't mature, it simply doesn't have the juice. The biological app of early embryonic development is incredibly heavy, right?
Oh, it requires massive amounts of cellular energy.
Exactly, to divide chromosomes and grow. If the battery is depleted, the system crashes.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. I mean, sperm simply cannot propel themselves with the strength and directionality needed to reach and fertilize an egg without immense ATP output.
Right, they literally can't make the journey.
Exactly. And eggs undergo an incredibly complex biological process of maturation. If they are deprived of energy, you end up with chromosomal abnormalities or developmental arrest.
But I have to push back a little here.
Okay.
Isn't oxidative stress just sort of a buzzword? I mean,
No.
we hear it in skincare commercials. We see it on vitamin bottles at the grocery store.
I get why you'd think that, yeah.
Like, how much actual damage can these ROS molecules do in a clinical reproductive sense? Are we talking about a slight dip in energy or something worse?
What's fascinating here is just how overwhelming the clinical data is on this exact point.
Okay.
We are not just talking about minor cellular fatigue.
Okay, so what are we talking about?
We are talking about structural devastation. The sources highlight a 2021 study by Agarwal et al., published in Antioxidants.
Okay.
They mapped exactly how this happens. The ROS-induced mitochondrial dysfunction actively destroys sperm motility.
Wow.
And worse, it causes DNA fragmentation. The ROS are literally breaking apart the genetic blueprint within the sperm.
That is terrifying. It's not just tired sperm, it's genetically compromised sperm.
Exactly. And on the female side, the data is equally stark.
Really?
Yeah, we look at research like the 2009 study by Reuter et al. In Human Reproduction Update. They demonstrated that elevated oxidative stress actively deteriorates egg quality and halts embryo development.
Wow. Okay, so it's definitely not just a marketing term.
No, not at all. This isn't a wellness buzzword to sell face cream. It is a documented, measurable, physiological barrier to conception.
Okay, so if that is the microscopic root of the problem, a devastating cellular energy crisis driven by oxidative stress, how did a clinic in Midtown Manhattan figure out how to solve it?
Well, that leads us into a highly personal and honestly very surprising origin story.
Yeah, because the founder of this clinic didn't start out as a believer in the methods he now champions, did he?
Far from it. If you look at the background of Mike Berkeley LAC, Faborm, it starts from a place of deep skepticism.
Let's set the scene in the 1990s for you listening. Mike and his wife were trying to start a family, and they were hitting that exact diagnostic wall we talked about earlier.
Right. They were trying, failing, and feeling completely lost.
And at this time, Mike was not an acupuncturist. In fact, the sources explicitly note he had zero understanding or belief in Eastern medicine.
He was a complete skeptic, but their medical hurdles were significant and complex.
What were they dealing with?
When they finally underwent comprehensive testing, they discovered male and female factors at play. Mike was diagnosed with poor morphology and poor motility.
Okay, so that means both the physical shape of his sperm and their ability to move were severely compromised, right?
Exactly. Classic signs of the ATP deficit we just discussed.
And his wife was facing her own massive hurdle too, right? Anti-sperm antibodies.
Yes, and that is a fascinating biological mechanism in itself.
I'm having a hard time picturing that.
Well, anti-sperm antibodies occur when the body's immune system misidentifies sperm as a dangerous pathogen. Like it sees it as a virus or bacteria.
But why? Why would the female immune system suddenly decide sperm is a threat?
It often comes down to systemic inflammation and an overactive immune response.
Oh, I see.
When the immune system is hypervigilant, sometimes triggered by microscopic trauma, infections, or extreme oxidative stress, it produces antibodies that physically attach to the sperm.
Whoa.
Yeah. They essentially tag the sperm for destruction, clumping them together or stopping them from penetrating the cervical mucus.
So it wasn't just one thing going wrong for them. It was a perfect storm of reproductive obstacles. Poor energy, bad cellular shape, and an active immune attack.
Yeah, it really was.
But his wife decided to see an acupuncturist and herbalist. And somehow, she managed to convince this completely skeptical husband of hers to go for treatment too.
Yeah, which must have been quite the conversation.
Right. And then they hit the turning point.
Mm.
After just 3 months of this specialized treatment, his wife was pregnant.
3 months. That's incredible.
They went on to have a healthy, happy, and successful son. And that personal miracle completely rewired Mike's professional life.
It really became his calling. In 1997, he founded the Berkeley Center for Reproductive Wellness.
And he holds a really remarkable distinction, doesn't he?
He does. He became the very first acupuncturist in the United States to focus exclusively on reproductive wellness.
I have to say, isn't it fascinating how the biggest skeptics often become the most relentless pioneers?
Oh, absolutely.
Nearly 3 decades of singular focus on one highly specific niche. I mean, that is what separates true, deep expertise from a general wellness clinic that just happens to see a fertility patient on a Tuesday afternoon.
I agree completely. Knowledge is most valuable when it is deeply and practically applied.
Yeah.
Mike didn't just learn general acupuncture for, back pain or migraines. He learned how to apply it specifically to reverse the exact ROS and ATP energy crisis in the reproductive
He
organs.
dedicated his entire practice to this single goal,
He did.
which sounds like a beautiful origin story. But for you listening right now, you are probably wondering, how exactly do these ancient Eastern techniques translate into fixing the microscopic Western biological problems for thousands of other couples?
Right. What's the actual science behind it?
Exactly. What is actually happening mechanically in that treatment room?
Well, to understand the mechanics of the cure, we have to strip away the mystique and look at what acupuncture physically does to the nervous system and blood vessels.
Okay, lay it on me.
When specific points on the body are stimulated by the needles, it triggers a neurosignaling cascade. The nervous system releases vasodilators like nitric oxide, which physically widen the blood vessels.
Ah, okay.
This measurably improves blood circulation directly to the ovaries and testes.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because if we think back to our cellular energy crisis, we can upgrade our understanding of how this heals the body.
How so?
It's like widening a blocked, narrow highway. The acupuncture forces the lanes to open up, so the supply trucks, which in this case are carrying vital oxygen and nutrients, can finally bypass the traffic and reach the mitochondria factories.
That's a brilliant way to put it.
And once the deliveries arrive, the mitochondria can finally manufacture that ATP battery power.
That is exactly the mechanism. The ovaries require a rich, continuous blood supply to nourish developing follicles and eggs.
Right.
And the uterine lining needs that exact same healthy circulation to build up a thick, receptive environment for an embryo to implant. Better circulation means richer supplies of those building blocks.
Makes total sense.
But acupuncture does something else critically important. It has been shown to modulate the immune system and drastically reduce systemic inflammation.
And as we covered earlier, inflammation is the primary driver of oxidative stress and those rogue anti-sperm antibodies, right?
Yes. By calming the body's inflammatory response, the treatment shifts the entire cellular environment.
It stops being a biological war zone.
Exactly. It stops being a hostile space of damage and dysfunction and becomes a stable environment of repair.
But the clinic isn't just relying on acupuncture, are they?
No, they're bringing in targeted herbal medicine too.
Right. The sources mentioned that Mike has developed proprietary, highly individualized herbal formulas. And just to be clear for you listening, this isn't like grabbing a standard multivitamin off the shelf.
Not at all. These are carefully compounded botanical formulas designed to work at the chemical level.
Okay, what is their specific job?
Their specific job is to neutralize the excess ROS.
Yeah.
And the way they do this is brilliant. The botanicals are packed with potent antioxidants.
Okay.
Remember how we said ROS molecules are destructive because they are missing an electron and want to steal one?
Right, they rip electrons away from the sperm's DNA.
Exactly. Well, antioxidants are molecules that are stable enough to actually donate an electron to the ROS without becoming unstable themselves.
Oh, wow. It's like a chemical peace offering.
That is a perfect description. The herbs supply the missing electrons, neutralizing the ROS before they can damage the reproductive cells.
So that directly restores mitochondrial efficiency and addresses the ATP deficit.
Yes, directly.
Plus, they integrate modern innovations like low-level light therapy or LLLT. And, I mean, this sounds almost sci-fi. Shining red light to improve fertility. How on earth does that work?
It is called photobiomodulation. The specific wavelengths of red and near-infrared light used in LLT can actually penetrate human tissue.
Wait, really? It goes straight through the tissue?
It does, and once the light reaches the cells, the photons are absorbed by an enzyme in the mitochondria called cytochrome oxidase.
Okay.
This absorption literally kicks the mitochondria into overdrive, accelerating the production of ATP. It is a direct, targeted energy boost to the reproductive organs.
So you have acupuncture widening the blood vessels, herbs neutralizing the cellular villains, and light therapy supercharging the batteries. It really is a multi-pronged attack.
It is, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, what truly defines the Berkeley Center's philosophy is the word integrative.
Meaning they don't make you choose.
Exactly. They do not ask patients to choose between Eastern and Western medicine. They view that as a completely false dichotomy. Mike works directly with reproductive endocrinologists, OBGYNs, and urologists.
Are you saying they actively encourage Western treatments alongside their own? Like they aren't telling patients to cancel their IVF cycles?
Exactly the opposite. They have developed specific protocols expressly to increase the odds of pregnancy for couples undergoing assisted reproductive technologies like IVF or IUI.
Oh, that's amazing.
They work in tandem with Western medicine to optimize the biological environment before the embryo transfer or insemination even takes place.
And then what happens after?
Once pregnancy does occur, the treatment doesn't stop. The focus shifts immediately to miscarriage prevention.
Right, especially in those first few months.
Yes, particularly in those highly vulnerable first 12 weeks. They're creating a calm, non-inflammatory immune environment for the embryo to thrive.
Okay, this all sounds incredibly logical in theory. The widened highway makes sense. The electron-donating herbs make sense. The light therapy makes sense.
Yeah.
But for you, the listener, you probably want the hard data. Where is the broader clinical validation that this works outside of Mike's personal story?
Well, the clinical validation is incredibly robust, and we really should look at these studies individually because they are landmark moments in medicine.
Let's do it.
Let's start with the Paulus et al. Trial from 2002, published in the journal Fertility and Sterility. This was a randomized controlled trial, which is the absolute gold standard of medical research.
Okay, how was it set up?
They took a group of women undergoing IVF and gave half of them acupuncture before and after embryo transfer.
And what were the results for the two groups?
The clinical pregnancy rates for the acupuncture group were significantly higher, 42.5%, compared to just 26.3% in the control group.
Wait, that is a massive statistical difference. To have that documented and published in a major Western medical journal is huge.
It really was a paradigm shift for reproductive endocrinologists. It proved this wasn't just a placebo effect.
Wow.
Then you have the 2010 study by Stainer Victorin et al. In acupuncture and medicine. This study directly proved what we were just discussing about the widened highway and blood flow.
Did they actually measure the circulation?
Yes, they did. They demonstrated that acupuncture inhibits sympathetic nerve activity.
Which is the stress response, right?
Exactly, the fight or flight response that literally constricts blood vessels. By inhibiting that stress response, the acupuncture measurably improved ovarian blood flow and hormonal regulation. They proved the mechanical action.
Okay, so that covers IVF success and ovarian blood flow. What about male factor infertility, the ATP issues for sperm?
For that, we look at a 2015 review by Lean et al., published in the Asian Journal of Andrology.
Okay.
This comprehensive review analyzed the effects of Chinese herbal medicine on male infertility.
And what did they find?
They found that these specific botanical compounds significantly improved sperm parameters, specifically increasing both motility and healthy morphology by demonstrably reducing oxidative damage. The herbs neutralize the ROS just as designed.
But let me play devil's advocate for a second here.
Go ahead.
With all this intense focus on clinical trials, mitochondrial function, randomized control groups, and IVF protocols, doesn't the clinic run the risk of feeling just like the sterile science labs we talked about at the very beginning?
That's a fair concern.
Are we just trading one cold clinical extreme for another?
This raises an important question because the emotional state of the patient is intimately tied to their physical outcomes.
So,
We just talked about how the sympathetic nervous system constricts blood vessels. Stress physically causes inflammation.
oh, right.
If a clinic is cold and sterile, it induces stress, which induces the very inflammation and blood constriction they're actively trying to cure.
That makes total sense.
But the patient experience at the Berkeley Center is described in completely different terms. The sources quote a patient directly, and it gives you a real sense of the environment.
What did the patient say?
The patient described Mike as, quote, a rarity among providers in the fertility space and a gem among humans.
A gem among humans.
Yeah. They specifically highlighted his relentless optimism, kindness, depth of knowledge, and sense of humor.
You really do not see that phrasing in standard medical reviews.
No, you don't. And that patient emphasizes that those qualities are incredible assets as you navigate the brutal ups and downs of fertility treatment.
Yeah.
That human touch, that deep empathy is an active component of the medical care. It lowers the stress, which lowers the inflammation, allowing the cellular repairs to actually take hold.
And his impact extends way beyond his own patients in Midtown Manhattan, doesn't it?
It does. He actually played a role in forming a board within the American Society of Acupuncturists to certify other practitioners in reproductive medicine.
Oh, wow. So he is actively helping to set the standard of care nationwide.
Yes. Plus, he's just been reviewed and approved by NY Top Docs based on merit for 2025.
That's incredible. It is a legacy built on a foundation of both rigorous science and deep compassion.
It is the ultimate validation of integrative medicine. He didn't just participate in the field of reproductive acupuncture, he helped define what it means to effectively act as an adjunct to conventional treatments.
Which brings our journey today to an incredible point. We started out talking about that isolating feeling of being trapped in a clinical maze when standard protocols fail.
Right.
We unpacked the microscopic energy crisis, how reactive oxygen species steal electrons and destroy our cellular batteries, our ATP, causing devastating oxidative stress.
Yeah, that war zone.
We learned how a complete skeptic in the 1990s experienced a personal medical miracle, leading him to pioneer a completely new integrative approach.
It's a great story.
And we saw how the Berkeley Center for Reproductive Wellness uses neurosignaling acupuncture, electron-donating custom botanicals, and photobiomodulation light therapy to clear out inflammation, restore blood flow, and literally recharge those cellular batteries, all while treating the patient with relentless optimism and humor.
It is a powerful reminder that sometimes the most effective medical interventions happen when we start choosing sides between East and West and instead operate at the intersection of both.
Absolutely. And if you or someone you love is facing the pain and uncertainty of infertility right now, the most important takeaway from all these sources is that you do not have to navigate it alone.
Definitely not alone.
There's a path forward built on real science, deep compassion, and the fundamental belief that your story is not over. You can reach out to them directly, visit them online at www.berkeleycenter.com, or you can call them at 212-685-0985.
Because as they say, your family story deserves a happy beginning.
So what does this all mean? We've covered the cellular mechanics, the deeply personal origin story, and the rigorous clinical proof. But as we wrap up, I want to know, what is the bigger picture here?
I want to leave you with a thought to mull over, something that really expands on everything we've unpacked today.
Okay, let's hear.
We've seen the hard data proving that these highly targeted integrative treatments, the acupuncture, the custom botanicals, the light therapy, can profoundly reverse oxidative stress.
Right.
They successfully neutralize RS and restore mitochondrial ATP specifically within our reproductive organs.
Yeah.
But if this precise combination of ancient technique and cellular science can literally breathe life back into failing sperm and eggs at the microscopic level, could this exact same integrative blueprint hold the key to slowing down cellular aging and preventing disease across the entire rest of the human body?
Whoa.
Right. If we can fix the battery in one room of the house, could we use the exact same tools to keep the power running everywhere else?
Wow. From the micro to the macro, that is a truly fascinating question to chew on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. And remember, even when the diagnostic waters seem murky and the standard tests aren't giving you the answers you need, there are pioneers out there finding new ways to clear the picture. Keep asking questions, keep exploring, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.